Yeah. Call the Montrose EDA meeting, regular meeting, Tuesday, February 21st, 2023, 12 p.m., Montrose City Hall. Called to order. David Paradise.
Michael Sommerfeld.
Matt Smith.
Jessica Bonwell.
Jolene Fosbright, County Environment.
Need the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Got a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as distributed.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Treasurer's report.
The current cash account for the EDA has $254,716 and change, and then we still have the revolving loan fund at $257,754 and change. The only expenditures we've had out of the EDA fund since our last meeting have just been accounting for the EDA lunches, and then there have been, for the end of year, there was a movement out for the admin fee that EDA pays to the city treasurer fund of $6,000. So that'll be on the next cycle.
Anybody have any questions? Alright. Moving on to old business, the preserve development update.
There hasn't been too much happening with that. We responded to some questions we received from a potential developer, the people who are interested in maybe putting a church in that area. Bolton and May has been trying to help us just distribute the proposal so that it gets in front of more eyeballs. Yeah, other than that, we haven't had any other interest that I'm aware of, so.
I know.
I did have a call from a developer. Some of them believe that, and I don't know if Bolton Meg is telling them, it's just that they think that the city is gonna retain ownership of it and that somebody would just like build it and the city would own the property, but that's not what we want. We want somebody to buy it and develop it and not have it be part of the city anymore, or part of our books.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I know I've reached out to a company up north, and that's kind of an area that I think would be perfect for them, but waiting to hear back from them and don't want to get everybody's hopes up on anything yet until we hear back, but potential there hopefully. Any questions on the preserve for anybody?
No, just what I had mentioned to you ahead of time, I've reached out to a few, in the, more of the retirement home space and some of that, and I haven't had any luck yet. Got a couple other folks to reach out to that I haven't got hold of yet, but just really no interest yet, but
Yeah,
it's getting out there, I guess, that helps. I mean, any little bit helps, but.
Yeah, getting as much in front of as many eyeballs as we can is good.
Right.
Might be tough. I know that some of the builders have like backed off on building right now because
Yep.
of different reasons. So I mean, it might just be, we might have to extend the deadline to try and open it up. And then putting a church in there obviously would not benefit the city as far as property taxes. So not that that's a deal breaker, but that's just a fact.
No, absolutely.
What would it take if we wanted to rezone that if there was a different type of business interested in it?
I'd have to go through planning and zoning to change zoning, public hearing, all that.
But it would just all be on the city level, right?
I believe it has to get approved at some sort of upper, like, state level or something, if we decide to do that. We can't just change all of our zoning. There's some regulation in place for that. I'd have to talk to Steve, I'm not sure. We haven't changed any zoning since I started.
I think it would have to go through Met Council, because I think we're still close enough
Yeah, I'm not
to
sure.
city.
But I think it is another level, like, higher than us that I would have to go to get approved.
Okay.
Any other questions on the preserve? Alright. Untied's update.
Pretty much the update is just that Untied's is waiting to get the right person in there. It sounds like they do want to do some sort of food possibly. I don't know that they're totally decided on what they exactly want in that area. But I think they, as we get into spring more, it sounds like they would be trying to look for more, somebody to get into that space.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. Michelle has a contact with them, so she's been in contact pretty frequently with them, so.
Got it. So maybe look for, come back to them in the spring and see if there's anything we can do to help find some suitor for that area. And they're just looking for basically a renter, correct?
I believe it would be, yeah, like someone to lease or rent
Mm-hmm.
from them and use that building.
Go. Any questions there on the Untieds? Alright, moving on to new business. The Initiative Foundation 2023 contribution, $260.
This is just our annual contribution to the Initiative Foundation, just need a motion to approve that expense.
I will make a motion to approve the Initiative Foundation 2023 contribution of $260.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Yep.
All opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next on the agenda, the EDA brochure. So we all had time to look it over, see where it was at, what changes that we thought needed to be made, any updates and that kind of stuff. Anybody have anything they want to bring up?
So, and forgive me if I'm, for my lack of knowledge here, who is our target audience for this? I mean, are we, because it feels kind of clunky in a way, but are we looking to bring people in, or are we looking to bring business in? Like, I think we need to decide one or the other
Mm-hmm.
and kind of promote it that way.
Yeah.
So knowing the target audience would be helpful? I'm just asking.
Yeah, I think personally for me, I think, I'd like to see us really attack the business front. Yeah, I don't think we have an issue of finding developers that want to develop houses in Montrose. So I think to your point, yeah, that's one thing that I know that, it needs to be more tailored to how the business can succeed in this small town and what kind of things that we have, talking more about the actual overall population in the area, what the needs are of these areas, working with Wright County on making sure we're hitting the right points that these businesses are looking for.
Right.
Obviously it's a little bit easier for Buffalo and Monticello to attract these businesses, but how can we start attracting some things? So yeah, I think that's one thing I think needs to be kind of less of a here's how we're a small town, look at us, kind of a thing, and more actually drive into here's how you can actually make money on your investment.
Yeah, agreed. That's kind of what I assumed, but it just doesn't quite all flow that way,
Yeah.
so.
I'd like to add something on there too about the revolving loan fund as well. I think that'd be good for especially the business side of it.
Yeah, I mean, without putting out there what we have in their fund, but like, you know, some of the different, you know, ways that we can help them, you know, work with Wright County on some other things that we can put in here as well, some different programs that, you know, can attract the businesses. I think that's something, rather than us just putting it together, actually working with everybody that we have to put a good brochure together for these businesses. And I mean, I don't know if there's a need to tailor it to the different types of businesses and make different ones that way or not. I don't know what most cities are doing right now, but find a way to get what we want in this town.
Yeah, so if you have any suggestions for what kind of information should be added to this, because we're gonna have to start from scratch with it. All we have is a PDF version of this, so we don't have anything editable.
I mean, I think the one easy thing that I saw was just where it says available land, all we have is the address and who to contact. I think that there needs to be a whole section on the photos, you know, the actual,
Well,
if we can get those from them. And
I don't know how big you want the brochure to be.
yeah, I mean, I think you can take out some of the stuff that's in here, you know, especially just,
Like the history part?
yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
I'd have some of this
we
front
just need to
page.
get straight to the point.
Yeah, take out some of the front page, pics of the available properties.
Exactly. I
And
mean,
more
we
just the what can the town do for you to make your business successful?
exactly. I mean, we don't need a whole middle section to be just our contact info ourselves.
Right.
You know, that can be, you know, shortened up and in order to add these things. But I think that an actual visual of these sites would be beneficial to maybe hopefully bringing them out to see them in person.
Yep, I agree.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on the demographic piece of it, on that table. We have an updated version of that, correct? Where it's the comprehensive plan population projections. I feel like we've seen an updated one since 2017.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
I think some of that'll get updated once we kind of update the AUAR as well, right?
Mhm.
As well as the projections we're using for the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah. And if we're tailoring this to businesses, I don't think we need the transportation piece in there at all. That'd be more for people looking for housing and what's available to them. Would you agree?
No, I don't agree. I
You
think
don't
that
agree?
businesses are looking at for the average daily traffic count to determine, so like something like Aldi will say, we won't even consider a site unless you've got X number of cars driving by daily.
I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about just the available, like, bus services and all that
Oh,
stuff.
I see. I thought you
Yeah.
meant the traffic.
No, the traffic stuff I'd like to keep in,
Yeah.
absolutely, 100%.
I mean, I think it's still important to, maybe you could condense the way it's worded
Yeah,
for space.
Even the,
Yeah, I mean, like in the last section area, if that included that traffic stuff, maybe if one person of contact and the school districts, that might be just enough for one area, not spread over 3 or 4 different places.
mhm. Is there anything that you guys see that we're missing, as far as information for these businesses that we're trying to attract?
My personal opinion, professional opinion, is that we are seeing that businesses are more concerned about workforce and quality of life. So, you know, making sure that you are mentioning the amenities in your community, as far as parks, paved trails, and, you know, to continue to offer education on there is
Mhm.
important.
yeah,
I'm glad to see that you have a population within 10 miles. I think that's important to keep that as well, as your population itself within the city limits is not a large number. The population within 10 miles is a good number to share.
is putting together kind of more of a competitive base as to what the surrounding towns offer, to let these businesses know how close their next competitor would be. Is that something that's beneficial or no?
I mean, I think that in Montrose's case, you're not really looking to say, you know, this is a better choice than Buffalo or Waverly. I think you're more looking at this region as a better choice than the Twin Cities
Mhm.
or St. Cloud. So, you know, trying to really compare yourself to your next door neighbors, I'm not sure is as important.
Okay.
You know, I would be happy to provide you with some samples of different flyers like this from the surrounding communities that you could look at when you're redesigning a new one. Would you like
That'd be
for that?
great to see,
Okay,
yeah.
I could do that.
I agree with you. I'd have parks and amenities in town highlighted, so different, you know, what can you do for the business, but then what can you do for the business's employees
Mhm.
and their folks too. And we've talked about it in other meetings, but, you know, one section, or, you know, one of these sections could be on just what the town has to offer the folks coming to work for the company too,
Yeah.
you know. So, you know, like she mentioned, the parks, you know, I do think the schools is important to keep in there and some of that, but highlight some of that, maybe a picture of the parks or something too, to kind of
Yeah.
get some idea.
Anybody have anything, else to add? Changes they'd like to see, on any of this?
Towns ever include, tax rates or tax rates compared to fire areas, like, you say compare Wright County and Montrose compared to just pick up Hennepin County or Ramsey County city.
Sometimes other communities do list their tax rates in comparison, listing the tools and incentives available, things like tax increment financing, tax abatement, maybe listing your, I don't know how your water and sewer access fees compare. That can be another incentive or tool that would be valuable to list.
Yeah, especially I think if that's, kind of like you said, if we're looking at trying to get businesses from those bigger areas, Hennepin, Ramsey, Anoka, out here, how are we better than those areas to come to?
More and more people are looking at what is the available housing and what is the available childcare. And life cycle housing has been under more consideration, something that people can age in, so one level living, some type of maybe even housing homeowners associations where the maintenance isn't required by the homeowner. For more aging families are important. Also, there's been a trend towards smaller lots for single family homes or for townhome products or duplex products. Also multifamily housing. All great, huge need for multifamily housing across the board and market rate or below, workforce / affordable.
And it kind of, one of the big things I think the whole county is facing right now is to your point, is the whole childcare.
Very big.
How are other cities handling that with trying to get these businesses in?
I did bring some things that we can discuss when it comes to that
Perfect.
point in the agenda, unless you want to talk about it now.
And we can move forward unless anybody else has anything else for the brochure. Perfect. I'll just quickly go over the recap of the University of Minnesota Extension Program Retaining Rural Business Workshop before we get to the next. But great workshop that was put on. Thank you for bringing them in. This was something that I think they made a point to who's running this point on this for each town, and I think that the main focus was you have these owners of businesses you know, they're aging out. Sometimes, you know, they don't know the next steps. So it's either gonna be that building goes empty, we don't have a business, or, you know, whatever, but the focus here was to how can, I think the EDA for Montrose get involved to help the planning process for these businesses that are local here, rather than just watching empty buildings just continue to be empty throughout time. And the big point was that it's not an easy conversation to have with business owners because that's not what they're thinking about. So it's kind of how do we do this? How do we go about it? What kind of resources that we can have for them to get them there, and just kind of be more of a guide rather than pushy and trying to push them out the door when that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to have that succession plan. Is this something that this group is willing to take on, get to learn more, get the education on, and start identifying those businesses in the area to help the next steps for them, whether it be 5 or 10 years down the road or it's 2 years down the road?
I think it's a great idea.
So I know I sent it to you, Jess, and I think Kirby as well. They got a bunch of videos. I think it might be beneficial that maybe every meeting we watch a couple of them and get through kind of our own little training on them. Maybe see if the extension program will come out here and give us a little presentation on it down the road, as a way to help guide us into building this extension of EDA, because I don't feel like we have that readily available to provide set resources to these businesses as far as what the next steps of planning for them should be. And it's a way to continue to keep the thrive in our businesses that we have. So if you have anything else to add to that, I mean, please feel free to share on that.
Yes, I guess, you know, one of the things that I was going to talk about during my time here is business retention and expansion visits, and setting up maybe a spreadsheet of your businesses, and then trying to verify who you think was the most important to visit, prioritize them. And I'd be happy to do that with you. I see that you guys meet at noon on the third Tuesday of the month, is that right?
Yes.
I'd be happy to attend your EDA meetings on a regular basis. I hadn't been, but I'm happy to do that. It's at a good time for me, so it doesn't conflict with any other meetings. And I have a business retention and expansion schedule that I'm doing on countywide visits. So I'm certainly happy to work with Montrose EDA. And I've been to a couple. I've been to Carpenter Contract Company, I see what you had on, and we did another one.
I think the only one I went to was CTC.
Oh, okay. I think I was.
Craft, maybe?
Yeah, Craft Pattern and
Yeah.
Mold. Yes, I went out there and did a visit. I guess it's been over a year now. But yeah, I think creating a business retention and expansion schedule is a good idea. I'm happy to partner on that with you. Maybe we set a goal. I have a goal of 12 to 15 per year at the countywide level. So, you know, I don't know if you guys want to plan 3 or 4 a year, you know, quarterly, go and visit a business. And then I've got a sample of business retention and expansion questionnaire that I use, and I'd be happy to bring along. It's, you know, it's pretty basic. I try to keep it somewhat informal. And at the end, I always ask about business succession and transition. So, you know, kind of it's a good opportunity to get that question out there and get a feel for where that particular business is at in their planning stages.
Anybody have any questions on that?
So how do you see, you know, I guess, I think it's a great idea, but how do you, what services or what resources could we provide, say, whoever, right? So you got an old-timer running a shop and he's ready to retire and hasn't really thought much about it, doesn't have any idea where to start, doesn't have kids that would take it over. You know, what can we provide that person, right?
Yeah.
It's a good question. So
Yeah.
the short videos that
That,
that he mentioned are very helpful. They're free, they're on the U of M extension, so we would certainly give them the link to that and let them view those. Or if we had viewed them in advance, we might know specifically one that would match their need and could watch it with them. They're only 3 or 4 minutes
Yeah.
long, I think. Another thing to do would be then to offer them the opportunity to come up with a description of what their business would be if they were to sell it. And then the partnership can help sort of put that
So we
out
can help
there.
recruit those
Yes,
folks to
and-
come.
and put it
That's
out,
what.
you know, on a forum of, there's an available business for sale, and this is what it entails, and this is what the asking price is, and just kind of get it out there. You know,
Yeah,
just give it some recognition and visibility through our organizations, and then we partner with all 11 chambers of commerce in the county and all 16 cities, so we could ask our partners to share that out as well. We are partnered with Greater MSP, which is a large economic development organization that would also share that information out statewide. And now we've joined, my board of directors has approved us joining the Minnesota Marketing Partnership, which is a group that has formed out of Department of Employment and Economic Development, and they go outstate and promote our state. So I could go and promote Wright County under that umbrella. So there's some different avenues that we could use to get the information out if we do have a business that's looking at succession, so as to not have them just shut down.
Yeah.
It's tricky, it just depends, each business is very unique, so we could work with them and see.
Any follow-up questions? Well, no, we'll let you have the floor. We'll move to Wright County Economic Development Partnership.
Okay, well, as you guys know, I'm Jolene Foss, I'm the executive director over there, I've been there 2.5 years. I've come to a couple of the Montrose EDA meetings over the years. I had good communication with Tom when he was on board. We know that he's done his business succession and transition on out of the EDA and on out of Montrose too, it sounds like. So that's a loss to the community because he was very active and he was very informed about economic development.
Huge loss.
Yeah, so the Wright County Economic Development Partnership's been around for 30 years. We're a nonprofit organization. We have members or partners that pay annual membership dues. Those partners include all 16 cities, and their membership dues are based on the per capita, so the population of the community. We have a trade for membership with the 11 chambers, and then we have about 50 private business that contribute to the partnership for us to maintain our costs for administration, and those are based on employee count, or if it's a bank or a lender, on their annual financial interchanges. I'm not sure exactly of the terminology, but you know how much they're working with. Our 4 main strategic imperatives are business retention and expansion. That's our number 1. So going out, making sure we can retain the businesses that are already active in Wright County, see how can we help support them so that we don't lose them. And then to recruit business is important to us. At this particular time, recruiting business isn't our first priority, but recruiting talent or people to the county has become our first priority. To bring in a large employer that needs 1,000 employees at this time would be a challenge for our existing employers. So we're really focusing on bringing people to the county now, more so. But of course, we are there to help assist and support businesses that are looking to relocate into our area. Talk to them about the incentives. The county has a revolving loan fund also that can be used just for industrial type of development, not for regular commercial retail. But those funds are available, and we work with the county on that. We also receive support from the county itself. They give us an annual contribution so that we're able to maintain our organization. It's myself and a full-time employee, Missy, who's the executive assistant / marketing coordinator. Our second strategic imperative is workforce development. So that has risen to the top, and we work with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services. We have board member Tim Savoy from there, and we also have Brian Koslowski from the Wright Tech Center in Buffalo, which is the last cooperative high school in the state that offers career tech education in the fields I'm sure you're familiar with: welding, construction, law enforcement, EMS, EMT, healthcare, graphic design, childcare, or early childhood ed, cosmetology, and a couple more that I'm forgetting. I did bring some flyers for you guys, so I've got Wright Tech Center ones if you're interested. I think I've got 3 of them, which worked out good for today. I wasn't sure how many we have here. So if you want to take one, you're welcome to take one of those, and after we're completed. And then I brought some about the CEO program and our organization as well. The CEO program is in its 9th year, stands for Creating Entrepreneurial Opportunities. This is for high school students that know they want to start their own business. They sign up in their 11th or 12th grade year. They travel over to the Wright Tech Center. They write a business plan. They actually get their business running up off the ground. They get a mentor. They do tours of businesses. So we're always looking, this is a sponsor, investor ran project. So we have investors that contribute $1,000 a year to pay for the facilitator. And then these kids go 2 or 3 times a week to different businesses to give presentations about how to be successful business owners in Wright County. This is to create an environment for entrepreneurialism. We want Wright County residents and students to know that they can be successful opening and running a business in Wright County. They don't have to leave and go to the Metro or St. Cloud or anywhere else to be successful. So it's in its 9th year. It's a great program. We are always looking for members to either be a mentor, to help us financially, or to do tours with the students. This third flyer is ours for the partnership. We talk about the CEO program here. When we talk about Workforce Pathways, this is an initiative that's been ongoing for, I think, about 5 years. Workforce Pathways' mission is to identify and assist Wright County businesses with their workforce needs to create a long-term vibrant community through education, training, marketing, and collaboration. The way we do it is we received a grant from the Initiative Foundation a number of years ago to create this tool called the Workforce Pathways Wheel. This is what the wheel looked like up until last week. We have renovated the wheel, and it now looks like the wheel that you see for the Minnesota Department of Ed, the cluster wheel that has like the colored sections of pie. You might be familiar with that career clusters wheel that Minnesota Department of Ed uses. We've modeled our new wheel after that. Basically, it's got all the same information. So you can click on the buttons and find out about all the school districts in Wright County, all of the individual cities, different modes of transportation like you've mentioned in your flyer, different training opportunities, manufacturing opportunities, and the like. In the center, we had a button you could click and it would give you a list of over 150 employers in the county, and we're just growing that inventory as we can. Every business that we visit, we add them to our list. And when you go down the list, you can click, it brings you right to their website, so you get information about who they are, what they do, where they are, and how, if they're hiring, which most of them are. We've decided to take that list of 150 and we're going to break it out into the 6 sections of the career clusters to make it easier to navigate, so somebody who's looking for a healthcare job doesn't have to scroll through 150 businesses to find Alina. They can click right on the cluster of healthcare and they'll have Alina, CentraCare, in Bridgewater, whatever it is, or Bridgeview. I think it's Bridgeview. So that's the Workforce Pathways. How do we promote this? We go to every event that we can and set up a table. So whether it's the Annandale Business Expo, the Monticello Riverfest, the Nights and Days community thing in St. Michael, or wherever, we set up a table and we have air fresheners that are in the shape of Wright County. They say stop spinning your wheels, and it has a picture of a car spitting dollar bills out the back tires, and it says work in Wright County. And on the back of the air freshener is a QR code. It brings them right to the wheel. So we give these air fresheners out, and we also have little Frisbee discs that have the QR code as well for kids that aren't driving or don't have a car. And same concept, drive them to the wheel. Once they get to the wheel, all the information about Wright County is there and all the employers. So that's been an ongoing effort. We have now kind of bumped up our next goal for 23 with Workforce Pathways is to get into the schools. We want to get in front of students. We think it might be easier to get into middle schools than high schools. I have to go individually, pretty much school by school. You know, everyone supports it, but the schools are taxed in their amount of time that they can give to outside entities. They have a lot of requirements of what they have to already do. They've got people coming at them from every direction that want them to help share information to kids. So we just have to work through that field. We know it's very important though. Now middle school kids are just having to make decisions as they enter high school about what kind of track they want to take as far as their electives. And so if we can get to them at middle school, I think we'll be able to deliver a message that not every child needs a 4-year degree. 2/3 of jobs do not require a college degree. And technical schools, 2-year degrees or on-the-job training are viable options for a lot of people that I think it's being undervalued. So that's our goal for 23. Otherwise, what else? So I'm also working right now with the Minnesota State Legislature, and I am requesting a $9.5 million bond to modernize and update the Wright Tech Center. The Wright Tech Center in Buffalo is 50 years old. It has served almost 30,000 students in the last 50 years. It works with all 8 school districts plus Big Lake, which so makes it regional because that's Sherburne County. And it is not only the career tech ed, so high school students can take classes in all of those particular areas. It's also the alternative learning center for the county, the academy. So students that are alternative learners have an opportunity to complete their education and get their high school diploma at the ALC, at the Wright Tech Center. It hosts a Head Start program, which is run through Wright County Community Action, and PACE, which is for differently abled learners. So like a special education program for adult or high school aged special ed learners. We need to keep the Wright Tech Center active and alive in Wright County. It's extremely important to me, to my organization, and to the entire region. So we're very hopeful. This morning I got House File number 2069. It's completed, it's been dropped, and the Committee for Capital Expenditures will be reviewing it. I'm super pumped. This was supposed to be Economic Development Day at the Capitol tomorrow. Because of the horrible weather, they canceled everything, and they even canceled the legislature, so there's not going to be any activity done at the state tomorrow or Thursday, so everything's kind of getting pushed a little bit, but hence government, right? So I think we all know that, and hence Minnesota weather. So this week I think it's going to slow down, but I've got Senator Bruce Anderson willing to carry the bill in the Senate, and I've got Representative Doubt, Erdahl, Lucero, Hudson, the new one, Walter Hudson, and one more that I can't recall that's not even in our region that are have signed, they're co-authors of this bill in the House. So it's been really very promising, and I'm really happy that if we were going to be able to do this for Wright Tech Center, that's a big deal for our region. So that's another thing we're working on very, very intently. Other things this year, so I talked about business retention and expansion, I talked about workforce development. Countywide marketing is another one of our strategic imperatives. Wright County has never marketed itself. There's never been any ads, come to Wright County, do the next right thing, work right, whatever it might be. And so we've started to do some promoting. We had a billboard on 94 that said you could already be, and it showed someone golfing, and it showed someone doing a barbecue at a campground with their family, and it showed someone kayaking, and the point was if you worked in Wright County, you aren't sitting on 94 for an hour and a half every day, you could already be at the cabin, you could already be golfing. So we ran that for a while. Billboard space is expensive, so but we do have Franklin Outdoor Advertising on our board of directors, so Franklin has agreed that if they have an open billboard, they'll slap our billboard up, but so far we haven't had that opportunity. So we're looking to continue to promote outside of Wright County. We don't feel the need to really promote within the county. Everybody here knows how great we are, but we want to deliver this message to our neighboring and outside of the state of Minnesota even, to try and attract people. The fourth strategic imperative is capacity building. So things like the capacity building seminar that we offered last week with U of M Extension is a free informational opportunity to provide to businesses, residents, or anyone interested in different relevant topics. So the next one we're going to hold is on April 13th. It will be with Luke Greiner, who is the labor analyst for DEED, Department of Employment and Economic Development. And he will talk about workforce trends in Wright County. I just went to one with Sherburne County Community Partners, and he presented about Sherburne County employment trends. Great information. And so that will be a free event at the Wright County Government Center in Buffalo, April 13th, 3 to 4:30, and the flyers, you'll start seeing that coming out this week. I'll have Missy get those flyers going. I'm not sure who the second guest will be. I had 2 people on board, and both of them are booked that day, so I'm looking for my second speaker as we speak. We do chamber summits, so twice a year we invite all of the chamber directors from all the chambers to come together and compare notes and share successes and challenges. So that's one other way that we're trying to build a great relationships between the chambers within the county. And then we are now starting the city administrators and economic development staff meetings twice a year. So we had one, and it was great. Jessica was able to join us virtually. Thank you for that. Turned out really well. We had 12 of the 16 cities participate and sent either their city administrator and or an economic development staff or intern. And we just kind of talked about things the partnership is doing, like I'm explaining right now, and then get to do an update of what's going on in all the cities. And just helps us kind of build. We're not silos. It's not each individual community out here trying to fight for themselves. We are a region, we are a county, and we're here to help support all of the businesses in all of the cities in the county. So that's been great. I'll have another one of those in June. Otherwise, specifically, you guys asked me to come here today to talk about things like childcare, I believe, and so I did bring some stuff from my Waverly EDA meetings Now, I'm not sure how much information you have about what Waverly did.
Not much, yeah.
Okay, so Waverly partnered with First Children's Finance. First Children's Finance is a nonprofit organization out of Minneapolis that works with the Initiative Foundation. And what they did was they did a study in Waverly. You know, and honestly, I don't think I have that. That was from like 20 when I first started, 2020. But what they did is they, oh, I think this is what I was looking for, and I couldn't find it. This is it, Child Care Needs Analysis. So what First Children's Finance did in December of 2020 is they partnered with Waverly, and they came up with this needs analysis. And what it showed is that in Waverly, with a population of 1,607 people, there were 11 licensed family child cares, and there were 0 child care centers in Waverly. Their current capacity was 100. It turns out that they have a need for 183. So they had a lack of 83 spaces for child care in Waverly. It broke it down, 49% of that need was infant and toddler. There are 158 children under 5 with parents working, which I just mentioned that number, and then 72% of children under 5 with all parents working in the workforce. So they kind of created this needs analysis, and then with that, they were able to decide where they wanted to go from there. And so what they decided was to try and push for a child care center to open in Waverly would not be the best for a business. It's going to be difficult for them to make money. A child care center has to have like 211 spots in order to come out in the black. And a child care center with only 158 spots is going to come out in the red. So it's not a good business plan. So what they decided then is we need to support our in-home child care providers. And we need to promote to get more in-home family child care providers in the community. And so they came up with their EDA is offering a child care loan program. And basically what they're doing is funds could be requested for the following items with the dollar amount not to exceed the amount listed. So if somebody wants to get their licensing fee paid for, that's $50. A background check fee, $50. Pre-licensing training, $175 per person. Ongoing training, up to $250 per person. The fire marshal inspection, $50. Smoke detectors, $100. Carbon monoxide, $100. Fire extinguishers, $100. And then the list goes on for specific items: high chairs, booster seats, pack and plays, first aid kits, toys, craft supplies, structural improvements. And so residents of Waverly can apply for these funds through the EDA to get these costs covered in the grant. And they have the program guidelines, first come, first serve. The proposed expense receipts must be submitted within 6 months of the loan. If they're not submitted within 6 months, they have to resubmit. So it's kind of a reimbursement, I believe, that they have to pay for it, then they get reimbursed, or they have to, I think that's how they're doing it. Oh, it says the designee shall execute a promissory note. Awarded loan funds will be dispersed to the provider upon submittal of receipts or invoices for supplies purchased. The applicant will be required to pay back 1/2 of the loan, 50% without any interest, every year on the anniversary of the distribution of the loan funds. However, if the child care business to which the loan was granted is still in business on that anniversary date, the payment for that year shall be forgiven by the Waverly EDA. If after 2 years the child care business to which the loan was granted is still in business, the entire loan amount will be forgiven. So it's a forgivable loan, which turns into a grant if they stay in business for a year or for 2 years. Half of it for 1 year and then the full amount for the second year. So that was their way of trying to promote additional childcare in the community. They had kind of a summit that I was a part of at their village hall. That was last September. They had someone from the Waverly EDA. They had someone from First Children's Finance. They had someone from Howard Lake Waverly Community Ed, I think, that deals with like their preschool programming and their before and after school programming. And then myself, just discuss opportunities and options for the community. So that's one thing that you guys could do. You could reach out to First Children's Finance. You could request technical assistance or for them to do one of these strategic plans or to at least, help you guys with a childcare needs analysis. And that would be free of charge. I don't think that you guys have to pay for that. I believe that they cover the cost of those. So that would be my first suggestion, is to reach out to First Children's Finance and to see about setting up a preliminary conversation, see what they're able and willing to do for you.
Do you have any info on how many they signed up, how many are still in business?
I do not. So that was September, and we're in February, so it has only been about 6 months or so since that last meeting. So I haven't gotten an update. I was part of their work task force, and I was meeting monthly online with them, but now I've kind of backed up a little bit. They sort of took the ball and they're running, and I have to kind of spread my time around, so. But an update would be good to see. I know they have had at least 1 or 2 childcare, home care providers get licensed in their community, so that helped open up a few more spots. The other thing I was going to say was, I'm drawing a blank. It was regarding this childcare issue. I think that they were looking at partnering between their community ed and the EDA to try and get the school involved. So although opening a center wasn't going to work for business, if it were to be supplemented or have a support from the community, then it could work that way. Or if they did like a mixed use building, if there was a space that was vacant and they're looking at, okay, if we bring a child care center and have a retail anchor in there, like a restaurant or something, and put your library or some community ed classes or something, do a mixed use, then it kind of eases the burden for a child care center to open. So there might be some options there.
Do you know if they, when they're doing the study, if they take into account like large businesses like CCC where, they may not live in the town, but they could definitely utilize having,
Yes.
okay.
So the city of Howard Lake is doing a public-private partnership with, the cabinet place there, Dura Supreme. And that's one of the largest employers in the county. So Howard Lake, Dura Supreme recognized that their inability to get employees was based in part on the lack of childcare available. So they're doing a public-private partnership where the city is paying for some of the costs of infrastructure for a space, and then Dura Supreme is also paying, and then they're partnering with a provider. And so therefore a center will be springing up from there, and there's so many dedicated spots for Dura Supreme employees. So that is a private public partnership has been done. I can get more information from Howard Lake if you'd like, to kind of see how they worked through it, or maybe we can see some examples of their paperwork, their contracts and things that they're working on. I'll see what I can find from them. I'm not sure exactly where they're at in the process, but I know that has been something they're doing. Similar public-private partnership has occurred in Howard Lake with senior housing. So I don't know if that's something that you're seeing a need for here. Do you have any senior housing in Montrose? Or like 55
Not
plus,
much, no.
or memory care, or anything that's dedicated to seniors? Okay, so that's something to consider as we see our population aging. And then multifamily housing. Have you had any conversations with any developers for multifamily? I was going to ask you for a little bit more information on the Preserve. Is that zoned residential right now? It's single family residential housing? Is that what the
It's
Preserve is?
zone medium density.
Oh, okay. Okay, but it is residential?
It is residential, yeah.
Okay. And how big is it? How many, is it platted? Are the lots?
It's 50 some acres, I think. It's this whole orange section.
Okay, but it hasn't been divided up into lots yet?
Well, some of this has been like pre-platted, like there was from a long time ago. Like if you go on to Beacon, these are all individual parcel numbers. Yeah.
And they're just kind of, they're medium density, so they're
Yeah,
average
that'll
size
probably have to
lots.
be vacated if somebody comes in.
I think so. I do know of a developer that's working in Maple Lake. I've worked with him when I worked for the city of Princeton. He's done something in Monticello recently, multifamily housing. I could let him know that there's an opportunity here, send it directly to him. I have posted the RFP that you sent out. You said you're looking at extending the deadline on that anyway? Has it already passed and you didn't
No,
get any
it's
response?
not, no, the deadline I think is March 31st.
Oh, okay.
So we can take action and extend that.
But you haven't had much response on it yet, any?
The only, just a church.
Oh, that's right.
interested.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I
Yeah,
understand the
it-
difficulty
you know,
on that
it's
with the
yeah,
tax
It's
base.
tough, yeah.
It's tough to say no also,
Right.
because your hands are kind of tied as far as that goes, unless you have a better offer on the table, so that can be tricky. I will reach out to that developer and send it to him directly and see if he wants to have a conversation. Being as he's in Maple Lake, that's not far away, you
Yep.
know, he's moving out this way, so. Okay, so I, again, would suggest you reach out to Terry Steckelberg at First Children's Finance, and I can send you her contact information if you want.
Mhm.
Terry Steckelberg. And then I will reach out to this multifamily developer, send him the RFQ or RFP and see if he's interested. I will try and get you some information about the public-private partnership that Howard Lake is doing with childcare and or senior living. Oh, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about, and it goes along with your EDA flyer, is that the partnership, our organization this year is going to be renewing our community profiles. So I think about 5 or more years ago, the partnership went to each city and created a community profile. So I think it's just like a 2-page, and it has kind of the same information that you're trying to provide. But it would be a same format for every town, every city in Wright County. And then we're gonna put them together and create a countywide resource guide. So it'll be 16 pages, so each city's breakdown of their community, all the same format. And then we'll have a couple pages for what the county offers, a couple pages for what the partnership offers, and maybe some other connections like to the Small Business Development Center, Department of Employment and Economic Development, Initiative Foundation, or whatnot, you know. So that is our goal for the end, for 2023. And so that should work along perfectly with what you guys are doing as well. If you wanna, you know, maybe hold off for a month or two before you really redesign this,
Yep.
we might be able to really help you with that,
That'd be
yeah,
great.
and
Great.
save you guys the time with the graphic design and all that.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Yeah,
Okay,
100%.
community profiles then are on our goal for this year. So those are a few things I can do. That gives you a little background about what I'm doing, and I'm open to any questions or suggestions for something you think of. Or after this meeting, you know, anytime, you can always email me or reach out and give me a call.
Does anybody have any questions for Jolene?
I'm good.
If you want me to attend your EDA meetings on a regular basis, please send me the Outlook invite,
Yeah.
so I get them on my calendar. If it's on the
Yeah.
calendar, I'll make it work if I can.
Appreciate your time coming today.
Yeah.
It's been very
Absolutely.
beneficial. And
Great.
what we're trying to accomplish here.
I understand, you know, you guys are doing the right things, and it's tough. Economic development is a long game. It's also difficult to quantify,
Mhm.
and so planting seeds now, you might, you know, we might be planting seeds that the next generation will be harvesting, but at least we're considering them.
Absolutely. Okay, anybody have anything else? Get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 3-0. We are adjourned.
You got it.
So my sister's having her